My name is Paul Hayes, and for 6 years, from the beginning of 1989 until the summer of 1995, I was a pupil at Clapham and Patching's CE Primary School. On Sunday, the 2nd of July 2023, I was one of many former pupils and staff who went along to the 150th birthday party held for the school's current building, although it's grown a bit since 1873, and indeed since I was there. But much of it is still the same, and brought back so many memories. Some of those memories I was able to record while making a piece about the event for BBC Radio Sussex. But that was just a 4-minute item, and I spoke to so many people who shared so many stories that it seemed a shame not to do something more with them. So here they are, as a kind of audio time capsule, a little slice of oral history of a school which means a very great deal to me, and, I suspect, to you as well.
Once you're here, it's got you, and that's it. It's just a magical place to work, it's a magical place to teach in.
I can remember having to go out in the cold and even the loos being frozen up.
Yeah, it's a brilliant school. I mean, you can imagine how many pupils have come through this in 150 years, and we've all done okay.
I was Joan Stanford. I came to the school in 1949, and it was a lovely school. Mr. Ingerfield, we called him Inky, was our headmaster. He was very strict, but he was lovely. You really respected him. If you were naughty, he'd pull your pigtails, he'd pull your ear if you weren't attending. His son came to the school. His son got the cane. That was John Ingerfield. My mother came to this school. And grandfather came to this school.
So your family goes all the way back?
Yes, and we live in the village at Patching.
Oh, excellent, still down.
Yes, the family have lived there for nearly 300 years, so obviously the school means a lot to us.
You do find, don't you, that I think through the years at the school, those same names keep coming back.
Yes,
you know, your family and, I don't know, the Bookers, the Kennards, all those kind of families.
That's right.
Gives it that real link, doesn't it?
Yes,
down the years.
yes.
So what's your impression? I mean, had you been in before, since you left? Did you ever come back until today?
I came to vote here when I was 21, would you believe? I met Mr. Ingerfield again, and he said, "Oh, Joan, I didn't know you were 21.
My name is John Ingerfield, and I went in 1939 is when I started work as a 5-year-old, because that was the earliest you could go to the nursery school as such, or a teacher. And then I remained there until I was about 12, and then I went to another school. So by my early days was my education. That was where I was taught by my father. And
yes, he was the head teacher here, I believe.
My father was a head teacher. He was head teacher here for about 33 years or so. You know, he was always here. You know. So
the school was a big part of your life, even outside of being a pupil.
Major part of my life. You know, I mean, I've got such memories of this school, and I mean, every day. I had a very happy childhood. Would I not, with this wonderful. You know, where we live in the countryside and the fields and all what was going on, but it was during the war years, of course.
Yes, so your time here must have pretty much exactly coincided with most of the war years.
It was very much so. I mean, this school, I remember once, is obviously approaching D-Day, and the school was requisitioned. It had soldiers in there, and I remember there were German prisoners of war. I don't know where they were stationed, but there were manoeuvres on the downs. Battles, one thing. And us kids, we used to sort of go and whatever was left there in the way of hardware, sort of smoke bomb. I remember getting a smoke bomb, letting that off. But also, when any German aeroplane came down, and I only remember one, we used to collect shrapnel, and that was a sort of bit of a hobby of us British kids. I mean, it's ridiculous. Now they have Panini cards, don't they?
So when you say the school was requisitioned in later in the war, did the lessons have to take place somewhere else then?
No. What happened was it's overnight. It's just overnight that they stayed here en route. It's obviously, I now realise it is prior to D-Day, because it was. I mean, there's so many, and there was a big Canadian tank regiment in this area, which they were here during the World War years. But what I do remember, if you want a story that would never happen nowadays, my father was a bit of a disciplinarian. And this is an absolute true story. And I regard the children the other day when I had a little bit of a talk to them. My father, I don't know what Mr. Newmere must have done, but it couldn't have been very bad. But we caned, you see. This would never happen in schools nowadays. And if you put it out like that, and of course, and if you went like that, you're no one. So I mean, these children, they were absolutely amazed that that happened there in years gone by.
I did come here last week and
speak to the children. What was that like?
Oh, it was brilliant. I came with John Ingerfield. I mean, he's 10 years older than me, and it was lovely. It was lovely to speak to the children, and they're so well behaved, and they were so immaculate. They really were.
What were they most interested in? What did they most want to ask you about?
They asked us about the war, they couldn't believe we didn't have computers. They couldn't believe we didn't have televisions in those days. They asked what we did in the school holidays. Things like that, basically. It's so different of today.
Now, I remember when I was here in the early 90s, there was a little stub of wall out in the playground, and people told us that there had once been a wall that went down the middle of the playground, and boys had to play on one side and girls had to play on the other. Was that right?
That is right. And also, the loos were outside.
Yeah, first year I was here, they were still outside.
They weren't flushed toilets.
Did they freeze over in the winter?
I think so, yes. I remember playing in the playground when it was really frosty and falling over.
No indoor play in those days?
You thought, no, you thought nothing of it. You had to walk to school in the snow, down Cold Harbour Hill. And
which, it's a fair old angle on that, isn't it?
Yes, but every day the school was open. There was no central heating like this. There was a boiler. They used to heat the milk up on the boiler. To this day, I do not like milk. Never liked school milk. But I love the school dinners that was in the Institute, which is like a little tin hut.
The tin hut up the road before they built the new village hall in the 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So you would have to march up the road to the recreation ground to have your school dinners?
Yes, it wasn't a recreation ground so much then, but yes, we used to march up there, and you saw the school doctor up there. Yes.
Do you have a particular favourite memory or any favourite memories that stick in your mind?
We never had school outings, but the one that sticks in my mind was the coronation of Queen Elizabeth, when we all went by bus down to the Odeon cinema to see the film, because not many people had televisions, and that was brilliant. We did have one outing in the 5 years I was here at the school, and that was to Windsor Castle, and that was very nice too. But we had no photographs taken because it was just after the war, you see. Yes.
Is it nice to come back and see it again?
Oh, it's lovely. Lovely.
Do you still find, because I find walking around, I was here, I left 28 years ago, but I find just here and there are little bits and pieces that I think that's still the same. Do you find that?
Yes, you too. It was just 2 rooms when I was here. Yeah. Yes, and the headmaster used to sit on his chair on the platform, and yes, you wouldn't do a thing wrong. You really respected your teachers in those days.
When you're the son of the head teacher, did he feel that he had to be more strict with you to set an example, or?
Well, I imagine so. I was about 2 other village lads. It happened twice, what I seem to remember. But I imagine, yes, I suppose, yes, there was no, because he was my dad. But in retrospect, I thought, it's my father caning me. What's this all about? When I read it, but I'm not. I'm personally a well-adjusted human being, actually. After it all, right?
And when were you last back here before today?
68 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I was 22, and as I say, and then I got married. This is what happens, you live with your parents the day you got married. It's a bit unusual nowadays and in today's society, but there we go, yeah. So.
And what are the biggest changes that have struck you seeing it again?
What, this school?
Mm.
I came on, I did a little presentation with the 4011s only on Friday. Absolutely overwhelmed, and I'm sure my sister there, we are absolutely amazed, aren't we? It's a really good school, I can tell that. And they teach 12 different subjects here: art, music. It's just wonderful. I can't. But as I say, very good. And because of the facilities the children have got now, with all the, what they got to play with. See, when in my day, there's no facilities at all. There really weren't. And
in fact, we can still see, if we just walk round here, we can see the little surviving stub of wall, and now that is the one surviving bit of the wall that I understand used to divide the playground in 2, and the girls would play on one side and the boys on the other. Is that right? It was
a little bit like that. That's right. I remember that wall. Yes, very much so. I remember it. Yes. if they can over there, that was the outside privy, and no flush toilets. No, I won't go any further.
I hear they used to freeze over in the winter as well.
Oh gosh, well, there's no heating. I mean, they got gas oil central heating here now. I don't know how we survived, but especially in the winter of 1947, when the whole country came to an absolute standstill, really.
My name is Diana Marshall, and I was at this school from, when did I leave? I left in 1948, so I was there for the time I was born in 37 to 48, and I went to school. And then I went on into Worthing High School, and my father was the headmaster many, many years after that.
Yeah, and you lived in the schoolhouse next door here, just over the fence where we are now.
Yes, we lived in the schoolhouse, yeah. It's very much part of the school because we lived next door to it, and the children played in the playground right outside our door. So I was always very much my whole life was dominated by the school because I was there all the time, you know. My mother taught the school as well, and my godmother taught the infant school. And really, our family dominated the teaching staff one way and another. But it was all very nice. Yeah.
People say it has a family atmosphere, and for you that was definitely true.
Definitely a family atmosphere, yes. And in those days, most of the pupils came from the village. They were local people. Families came, and they were local people. And then, of course, 11, they went off to the secondary schools, mainly either to Littlehampton or to Worthing High School. But, yeah, it was very much everybody knew everybody else. It was the village, and the village was the centre of it all. And the parents were involved, and it was just very nice. And I think, everybody enjoyed their stay here. It was very nice, yeah, as they are now.
I always remember my father, one summer's day, looking out of our window, and there's a dogfight between a Messerschmitt and a Spitfire. But I didn't really know there was a war going on. My parents never told me. I don't know why were they trying to protect me from something evil, something so sinister, but no. It was quite an exciting time for me because there was troops all around, and it was just an amazing time for me. It really was.
Of course, not everybody necessarily enjoys their school days, but years later they might still find that nostalgia or curiosity can somehow pull them back to the place.
My name is, it was then Sheila Bishop.
And when did you come to school?
1951.
And you were here for what, 5 or 6 years, I guess?
Six years.
6 years. So have you been back inside since?
No.
So this is the first time you've stepped in for 66 years?
Yeah.
And what was your immediate impression of coming back in?
The outside I remember more than the inside. That room there.
Yeah, the big classroom at the front. Yeah.
And we had a big stove in the middle, and I remember the milk being all put round it in the winter to thaw out, ready for playtime, because it used to come frozen.
What are your main memories of what you used to get up to in the playground?
Being annoyed that the girls had to go much further to the toilets than the boys.
Yes, because the girls' toilets are right down the other end, and the boys' toilets are up
there. Were there.
Yes,
yeah. And they were, in the winter, always freezing.
I have heard that the head teacher would have to come up with a stick and break up the ice. Is that true?
Yeah, she did.
Who was the head teacher when you were here?
Head teacher when I was here actually wasn't a lady, it was Mr. Ingerfield. He was here a long time, wasn't he?
You were telling me you didn't enjoy school very much.
No, I didn't.
So why have you decided to come back today?
Well, I suppose now I'm old, I realised I should have enjoyed school and I should have learnt a lot more than I did. But there you go. And this has always been part of my life. I've always I live in East Preston now, but I've never moved farther than 5 miles from here. All my family lived here.
And that's the thing with the schools, that they are not just part of the lives of the people who are in them at the time, but they're part of the life of the community, aren't they?
Absolutely. My sister-in-law, my brother's wife, fought because the first time that they decided they were going to close this.
In 76, was that?
There was a huge thing, and she was the leader of that. She was absolutely determined this school wasn't going to close. Absolutely determined.
And it's still here now, nearly 50 years later.
Still here. They tried, didn't they? Was it
about 4 years ago? About 4 years ago now.
Was it 4?
Yeah, I think so. 2019, I think.
Yeah, they tried again, but it survived. So that's got to say something, hasn't it?
As well as ex-pupils, I also spoke to some of the former staff members who'd come along to the celebration, including one who was there during that attempt to close the school in the mid-1970s.
Sheila Chell, 73 to 83. Very happy memories. Yes, it was lovely. It was like a big family. Yeah, it really was, yeah. And we had some lovely children. And I had a great headmistress who was here.
Was that Mrs. Stubbington at the time?
Miss Stubbington, yes, yeah. And yeah, but I don't remember this.
It's got a lot bigger, hasn't it? Even since when I was here, it's got a lot bigger.
It's just totally different. We just had the 2 rooms and
the outside toilets.
Yeah, and a little noise quiet room that we use for things. But that's where the secretary was as well. So.
And is today the first time you've been back since you left, or had you been back other times since?
I haven't been back since it's all been altered. No, at all, not at all. No, so it's
and you mentioned about some of the children that you taught, very nice children,
yeah.
Some naughty children. Now I know that when you were here, my big brother David Hayes was here.
Yes.
Was he a well-behaved child?
He was very good. Yes.
When you were here in 1976.
Yes.
They tried to close the school.
Yes, and we had a demonstration. We went up to County Hall and protested with some of the children as well as all the parents. And we won by 1 vote.
And it's still here today?
Still here today, yes, which is what we told them it would be.
My name's Paul Boxall, and I was here from 1967 to 1973.
And have you ever been back since, or is this the first time?
No, this is the first time. Yeah, even though I live in Patching, but
so
yeah.
50 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, now it's grown a fair bit since I was here.
It's a lot
so
bigger,
it must have got a lot bigger since you were here.
Yeah, this is massive compared to what it was when I was here.
It comes much further out into the playground now, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think as we're bigger, it seems smaller anyway. But
yes.
No, it's nice just to see your name in the register, and it's good.
Yeah, they've got the admissions books, haven't they,
That's
of
it.
when everyone joined.
Yeah, and to see everybody you're not sort of really meeting up with anymore, it's quite nice, yeah.
It's the same thing with the people and with the place, isn't it? And that you see some people who you think maybe you remember, and you see bits of the school, you think, oh, that bit seems familiar.
And you remember the snippets just like that, they come flooding back.
What are some of the things that have been coming back to you today?
Always remember the long dark corridor, which isn't here anymore. And all the pegs that you could catch yourself on when you ran out of the playground.
Oh, yes,
too
I
quickly.
do just about remember that. For the first year I was here was before they built the indoor toilets, and they still have that corridor.
Yeah.
And so you would have been here when they still had the old toilet. Everyone tells me used to freeze up in the winter.
Yeah, those lovely things to use in the winter time.
The boys' one's up this end where we are now, and the girls down the other.
And
end.
the playground was split level with a flint wall right down the middle.
Yeah. When I was here, there was a little stub of that still came out into the playground.
You
just
still
at
see
the school end.
Yeah, just over there. Yeah, no, it was right across with a little gap in it. And then if you were walking along the wall, if you went over the girls' side, it was a bigger drop, so you had to watch yourself.
So even when you were here in the 60s and early 70s, they still had to play on separate sides, didn't they?
I don't remember it, but I think we did have to, yes. Yeah.
And what were the teachers like when you were here?
Brilliant, yeah. I always remember... can't remember her name now. I know she had permed blonde hair, very nice lady, and it was a brilliant school. I mean, you can imagine how many pupils have come through this in 150 years, and we've all done okay. So.
Yeah, and you were saying living in Patching, I mean, even though you haven't been sort of back in for 50 years, it is part of the community of these 2 villages, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know it's been fought over with 2 closures, and they've obviously, kept it going, and long may it stay open, because I think it's a brilliant place. Fantastic place.
What do you think gives it that special atmosphere?
I think it's probably the intimacy, and if you've got good teachers, I think your first memories of school are always going to be your strongest, aren't they?
Do you remember how many people were here when you were... Because, I mean, I don't think it's ever been more than 50 at the most, has it?
I think it was about 40, 45 tops, and then of course you go to secondary school and it's like a town. There's like hundreds of pupils, and you think, I don't like this, it's too big. It's not the same. But yeah, I loved it here, and just seeing all my friends that I went to school with on a nice sunny day, it was just brilliant to see,
I was also lucky enough to be able to catch up that day with some of those who'd been at the school at the same time I was, and not just former classmates. Now, I've been walking around asking people who they are and when they were here, and I know who you are because I feel like I ought to call you Mrs. Breeze, But it's Wendy Breeze, isn't it?
Wendy Breeze, and nobody forgets my name because the names don't go together very well.
But I feel as if I ought to call you Mrs. Breeze because,
That's all right.
and I know when you finished here because I remember coming to your retirement, 1996. But when did you start? Was it in the 70s?
Yes, 79 actually, not 80s. In 1979 I started.
And it changed quite a lot over your time here because I remember in my very early days here, they built an extension which had these wonderful new things called indoor toilets in it. So what do you remember about the way it changed while you were here?
Oh, a lot. We had a swimming pool at one point, which was great. What was I going to say? Yes, I can remember having to go out in the cold and even the loos being frozen up, but that sort of thing. No, it was absolutely super. And what was lovely was the teaching the children for so long and really getting to know them. It was like a big family, I found.
Yeah, and you would see different eras of the same family because you would have taught my big brother and sister, David and Jenny, and then me, so you'd see all the different siblings come through.
Absolutely, and the children had to have the same teacher for 4 years as well, which
yes,
is
there was
another
two
thing.
classes. There was class 1, which I think was what they'd now call reception in years 1 and 2, and then class 2, which you taught, which was years 3, 4, 5 and 6 all in together.
Absolutely, yes, and you get a very bright 11-year-old and one who struggled a bit at 7. There was a great dividing range, but you still had them all in the same classroom.
So that must be really tricky having that big age range to teach all in one go. Was that difficult?
It was just very time consuming because there were some things you could all do together, but other times you say they were all such a different level. But if you were writing stories, you could do the same sort of thing. Everybody got on so well. That was the great thing.
And what makes a village school like this, a small school, what makes it special?
I just think a feeling of companionship, just getting on together, getting to know the staff well. Yes. It's like a big family, in other words. And you didn't have, say you were doing plays and things, shows, everybody had to take part.
Yes, the school plays.
You didn't have some children that always sat out and never did anything. Everybody did everything.
Yes, we would go down the village hall and put on our Christmas play and things, wouldn't we?
And in the old days, it was a lovely afternoon, you could even say, oh, let's go out for a walk or let's go pond dipping, which we did, and nobody worried at all.
Yes, you didn't have to do a risk assessment or anything, you just decided to go and do it.
No, we didn't have any of that. And I also could choose my own topics to teach. We didn't have a curriculum then. You know, I could say, right, this is the topic for the year, be it whatever, roads. It's happy memories.
Do you remember what made you want to come and work here in the first place?
A friend saw it advertised as a remedial teacher, which was just 2 days a week, and that's what I came for. And then I ended up never full time, but I always used to do all the extras and didn't live far away, so it was just perfect for me.
Well, it's lovely that you've come. When were you last back in here?
Several years now since I've been up here.
And what's it feel like? I keep walking around and feeling a lot of it's changed, but I keep seeing little bits and pieces that feel really familiar.
Oh yes, this room looks very familiar.
Now, yes, it's the classroom backing onto the playground, yes.
Yes, I can still, yes, but so much going on here now. But it's lovely to know it's still going on. It really is, that it didn't close again.
No, because when you started, it was only a few years after they tried to close in the 70s.
Yes.
Did it still feel under threat when you were here?
Not too much. I think people respected that, no, it's going to stay now. And I think on the whole, there were about... It got up to a good 50 when I was here.
Yeah, I think it was about 50 when I was here. Yeah.
And we even went away on holidays a couple of times together, which was great. I can't remember if you came to that. But
that might have been slightly before my time. I'm not sure if I remember that.
Done. Went to the Isle of Wight one year, and that was absolutely great. Yeah. So only happy memories. And just looking around now, there'll be quite a few that I remember.
Well, I'd better let you go and mix and mingle and meet some more of them.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Brilliant.
Well, thank you for being one of the people who gave me such a great start in education that means I can have this job now and come and do things like this.
I'm Richard Goodyear. I was at the school from 1977 to 83, and it's great being back.
Is this the first time you've been back since, or have you been back before?
No, I've been back before. There's plenty of memories here, and things have shifted around. Well, as you can see, you're an ex-pupil, Paul, aren't you?
I am, yeah. When was the last time you were here?
It's probably came back here about 10 years ago, I'd hazard a guess. Maybe a bit longer, because Mr. Mead was the head teacher, and that was like the start of the century. So, as he was saying, it's probably about 20 years.
And it's got bigger even in that time.
Yeah. The swimming pool's gone. The outdoor toilets are no more. They've topped up the wall we used to climb the trees.
Where did you used to? So this was the wall that ran along the edge along the path that leads up to Merivale.
The edge along to up to Merivale.
Yes, I know it's Merry Garden, not Merivale. You can tell I've been living in Norfolk for too long. Merivale is the name of the model village in Great Yarmouth. Anyway.
They put like mesh on the wall.
When I was here, there was the wall and there was a fence.
That's right.
Sometimes if a ball, I remember that we had a student teacher once who, when the ball got to he climbed over and went to get it.
Yeah, exactly. The balls used to go out over the wall by the girls' toilets, and used to sort of think nothing of leaping on the wall, and then people used to wonder where everybody was. Missing pupil out of school grounds, so it wouldn't happen these days.
No, it wouldn't. I do remember a few years ago I had a walk around the village on Christmas Day, just on my own, just to have a sort of nostalgic walk around, and I walked up that path behind the school here, and it was an absolute ball graveyard. There was tennis balls, soft squidgy balls, footballs.
They've all come from here.
Yeah,
they've all come
all
from
in the undergrowth.
Did you collect them and bring them back to school?
I didn't, sadly, no.
And where they used to keep the PE equipment, now turned it into a kitchen. In where they do the teas and coffees. So
there was a kind of wooden shed in front of that, wasn't there?
That's right, that's right. And the rickety old gate we used to climb upon, and it was forever being repaired by the school caretaker too. And in the late 70s, I was just chatting to the few people in the main classroom. I remember watching the Muppet movie in there at Christmas time, and trips to various places such as we went to London Zoo and Bird World. I don't know whether they do all those, they're not on the same day. And school dinners weren't the greatest when I was here. Ravioli, rice pudding, etc. We were told to eat it because it was good for us and stimulate our minds.
So what would you say you mentioned about the school dinners there. What sticks most in the mind when you think back of those years at the school? What either particular lessons or particular games, or what most readily comes to mind?
Well, I remember this a little bit earlier in the year. School Sports Day.
Oh yes.
It's around about this time.
Did you do that up the Rec or the Village Hall?
Village Hall. Yeah, they did tell it up the Rec.
Yeah, when in my era it was up the Rec.
Yeah, because you're a bit younger than I am.
Yeah.
And no, we were at the Village Hall. I remember doing the sack race. I was not doing too well in this sack race, and PC Tony Gilks, who was like the policeman liaison guy, it was a genuine policeman, community guy, come in, he picked me up and sort of carried me down the line. I was failing miserably. So that's a memory, but it's just great to see the school still open, Paul. I mean, it's in your own backyard, It's just fabulous. It's run
part of the history of the villages.
Yeah, it's part of the history. It's run by people that appear to be, and I'm sure they are, passionate about this school. And you can't say any more than that.
Michelle Munger, and I was here I'm born in 1980, so 85. 85 onwards.
Yeah, so when I started here, you were one of the bigger pupils when I started here, and you lived just down the road from me, obviously, so all the same part of the village, and slightly different for you, I think, coming back, because you worked here for a while later on, didn't you? So when was the last time you were here?
2018. I left. Yes, I was here for 11 years, and I loved it. So saw a lot of changes in that time, and it's nice to be back today to see people from years ago who I came to school with, and also those that I helped with their education.
That must be interesting, seeing it from both sides, having been an ex-pupil and worked here as well. So you've got that perspective. What do you think makes this school special?
I think the size of it, for the start off, just it's so small. I know I spoke to somebody this morning, they said they've got 52 on roll this morning. When I worked here, they went down to about 29.
Really, that few? Wow.
Yeah, but it's just like a family. I think you just get to know every pupil so personally, and all members of staff. You just hear a child cry or a child call, you just know exactly who it is in an instant. It's not like when you go to one of these big schools. I think that's what's so nice about it. It's just a very personalised education. Yeah.
And when you come back now, what are the main memories it provokes? What most comes to mind?
Just nostalgia, isn't it? It's just like coming back to your childhood, and even though it's changed so vastly, It is just, especially when you bump into people that you went to school with, that memory, and then teaching it and just seeing how, you've got nice fond memories, and you hear other people here now that are still studying here talking about how much they love it as well. So that just carries on.
You see so much that's changed, but then you walk around and you see some bits that are still exactly the same. I was looking earlier, there's an outbuilding over there, the store building. It's got those white circles with dots still on the side. And I thought, they can't be the same ones. So I went and got one of the photo albums and put it out, and they're exactly the same.
Yeah, same one. They're slightly smaller.
They look as if they were kind of rough hand painted just a few days ago, but they've been there forever.
Forever, absolutely forever. Yeah, definitely. And the toilets and everything.
Yeah, and of course, now I know when I first started, and so probably for most of the time you were here, they still had the outdoor toilets.
Yeah. I remember the snow days. We had to get sent home because all the toilets were frozen over. But I think storage now, but it's all part of the memory, isn't it? Seeing it all, and obviously there's new things, but it's just nice to see all the children running around and enjoying themselves.
And we were saying about, before we started recording, that one of the things about seeing all the bits of history today is that they've got the books in there, the records of when people started, going back years and years, the registers and things, and there are those family names that you get in a village school. Maybe not so much now, because families don't tend to hang around the same place, but you were saying with your family, you can see it going back to when your mum started.
Absolutely, yeah. My mum was here, and her brothers and sisters, and then I came here with my brothers, and both my brothers, and my two children came here as well, and then I worked here, so yeah, it's nice. It takes you right back there, I think.
So having that connection, it must be pleasing that it has survived and is still going strong.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think hopefully, from what I was talking to one of the members of staff earlier, they said they're looking to carry on. It's all looking positive, and they've actually, I think they're oversubscribed for September, so for their intake, which is great.
So we're here in the playground, and I'm here with two people who were here when I was, in different ways. So I'll get them to introduce themselves.
I'm Judith Skit, and I was a teacher.
You were a teacher, and you were teaching at the time people like me and
me, Emma Cornford, who I went to school with.
We were in the same year, weren't we?
We were.
In fact, we basically grew up together, because there's a picture of us as little babies sitting on the floor of the village hall.
Yeah, there's about 6 months between us, I think.
And I can remember, your birthday's in November, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can remember before I started here, coming up to the school gate to give you a birthday card on your 5th birthday, which would be in November '88.
Yes, it was.
So we go back a long way this week. So what's your... I mean, you've been back here a fair bit since you left, haven't you?
Yes.
So does it feel as if it's changed?
Yes. Every time I come back in here, something has changed. It's all exciting and it's all new.
So. And Judith, it feels odd calling you Judith, but I should call you Mrs. Skit.
No, call me Judith, please. Yeah.
When was the last time you were back here?
When I left, which must have been about 15 years ago, I suppose. It must have been like that.
Has it changed a lot since then?
Massively, yes. I mean, internally, it's incredible, the extensions. But then seeing people that I've taught who have grown rather.
So Emma, I know what my memories of that time. What memories sticking most powerfully for you?
I just remember having a lot of fun. We didn't seem to do a lot of work. It was all outside painting fences or the gardening and the Wendy house.
Oh yes, which was sort of now been buried under this extension,
yes.
Which is kind of, yes.
Yeah, and the boat, what was in the playground.
Well, yes, it was one of the old Musebrook Park boats. And Jerry and Beverly Fox, who were Alex Fox's parents from our year, they ran the boats at Musebrook Park, and they gave an old one to the school, didn't they?
Yes, it was amazing. It was great fun having this boat in the playground.
Now, for Judith, from your perspective, was it difficult? Because you taught class 2, which was years 3, 4, 5 and 6. So was it difficult to have that wide an age range all in one big class together?
You had to be very, very, very well planned. And planning was my thing. I was good at that, so we did have to be. But when they brought in the literacy and numeracy hours, then it became difficult because there were different things for each year group. So it did become very, very difficult then. But we got there, but it was lovely having all the different ages together. I adored it.
And one of the things, Emma, that makes you and I feel as old as Victorians is the fact that when we started, there was still the outside toilets, weren't there? Do you remember that?
Yes, we never went to the loo. It was cold.
I think they'd done away with those by the time you came here, hadn't they?
They had, but what hadn't done that way with the weather was really bad, water came pouring through the back door.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yes, we had a few floods coming through. There was something about the drains facing the wrong way or slanting the wrong way, yes. I remember mopping up quite a few times.
So what do you think is, you talked a bit about the challenges of teaching at a small school like that. What do you think are the bonuses of having such a small village school?
Knowing everybody and their families so well. Really well. I mean, at the end of my career, I ended up in a big school. And you didn't really know any. If there were 6 classes in a year group, you didn't know everybody. Whereas here, you knew all the families, grandparents, the lot.
And Emma, I think you must have a unique perspective because you came back and worked here.
I did, and it was just lovely. It's working in this school. You, like Judith just said, you get to know everyone so well, and you can cater for their education, what they need, and help with their strengths a lot more sort of fluently than you can in a bigger school.
They've got the books through there. They've got the school sort of admissions record of when people, and going back sort of decades of when people came. And one of the things about a village school is that you see families like yours, the Cornfords, the sort of generations of those, don't they? Coming back, so people like Bookers, Cornfords, Kennards, they go back decades and decades and decades.
Yeah. They do, and it's exciting when you come down to a day like today and you see all these families that you know, and you've either worked with them and their children, or you went to school with their children.
And Judith, lastly, that family thing, people have said that being part of a school like this, being associated with it from whatever angle, it does have a family feel. Did you feel that when you were here?
Definitely. I mean, yeah, you were part of a family. You're a teacher, but you're part of a family. And when I left, I remember ex-parents coming and bringing me a big bouquet, and whose children I taught a few years ago, but they'd heard I was leaving, and they came in, and you did feel, the whole thing, family, yeah.
And lastly with you, I don't know if you found this, but walking around, obviously there's lots different, but I keep seeing little bits that feel exactly the same.
Our playground's so little, we couldn't have a goalpost, could we?
Well, we had, remember, there was one painted on the side of the boys' toilets there, and at the other end, there was the fence to the environmental studies area.
Down the hill.
Yeah, and it had 2 posts in the fence that were about the right width for a goal. But there was no crossbar. No. So if a shot kind of went over, it was all those arguments about whether it had gone over or not, or whether it was under the crossbar.
And there used to be the pond down there.
They did. Did you ever fall in it?
No, but I believe we put the guinea pigs in it.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I think because we were allowed to take them out and sit on the little jetty, and I'm sure we decided to see if they could swim once.
You probably had to fish them out quite quickly.
No, but I do remember the guinea pigs that one of them was expecting when we had our first Ofsted. And Janet Gates, who was the secretary, Janet took it home and said, it's had the babies, but I'm not telling anybody. I'm not getting excited during Ofsted.
So far, this has all been about the school's past, but on that day in July, I also got a flavour of the school's present too. Not just from having been able to have a nose around the building, but by speaking to some of the current members of the Clapham and Patching family.
I'm Gemma Simmons, and I'm the Key Stage 2 teacher. I currently teach year 4, 5, 6.
Excellent. And when I was here, it's strange. You see the bits that are still familiar and bits that feel slightly different. This classroom we're in now, because when I was here, it was really just sort of 2 main classrooms, the one we're in now and the one next door. And this bit still has the very high sort of original Victorian ceilings and those big windows that teachers used to have the big sticks to sort of get up and close the windows at the top. So it's strange how this combination of the familiar and the different. Do you find that a lot when people who've been here before come and see the school? Is that mix for them?
Yes, we just had some past pupils in they were pupils here in the 40s, and we interviewed them, and they just couldn't get over how different it was, but how it was the same. And one of the gentlemen, John, who came along, his father was the head teacher here, and so he also popped next door to look at the headmaster's house.
Yes, because that was the old schoolhouse. It wasn't when I was here, although I went to nursery school in that house. The family that lived there, the Mileses, Mrs. Miles, ran a nursery school, I guess what we call now preschool. And I went there for play school, I think we called it then, before I came to this school. So there was still something of that link in my time.
There still is the link because one of our governors lives next door. So
people in that house can't escape from the reach of the
they
school.
can never escape from this school. Once you're here, it's got you, and that's it. It's just a magical place to work. It's a magical place to teach in.
Do you think that some of that comes from it being quite a small school. I don't know how many pupils you have now. When I was here, I think it was never more than 50 at the very most. I think at times in its history it had been down into the 30s or maybe even the 20s. I know when they tried to close it in the 70s, it had a very small school. Do you think that family atmosphere, do you think that helps make it feel more friendly, and it helps create those special memories?
I think our community links with the village, both villages, Clapham and Patching, really helps to ground the school and just make it that family environment where everybody knows they're welcome and where we look after the children like they are family. And the links we've made in the last year with the village have just been have really helped us to grow.
So tell me about some of the things that the children have been learning about the history of the school.
So this week we've had our whole 150th birthday. So we have had Victorian Day, so the children look back at the school in Victorian times and like who would have come. We went through all the census data and they learned, whether was it mainly boys, was it girls? So we did all of that. They looked at the sorts of games they would have played. They did drill out in the playground.
What do you think they found the most interesting about? What are some of the things that really seem to catch their imagination?
Oh, the fact that we all had to be very stern. Normally, during the school day, I smile a lot, but on Victorian Day, oh no.
You were a stern schoolmistress.
I was a stern schoolmistress, and they found it very, very hard whenever Mrs. Chubb, the head teacher, walked in, that they all had to stand up. So that, obviously, that was a little bit of a culture shock.
Do they still have to do the things sort of at the start of assembly, kind of like, good morning, Mrs. Chubb, good morning, everybody?
No, we now say, we do say that, but we will say good morning, Mrs. Chubb, or whoever's taking assembly, and good morning, everyone.
In a more kind of cheerful manner.
In a more of a cheerful way, and we have
not quite so much of a chant.
No, not a Victorian chant anymore.
It's nice that they were doing that here, because we did the Victorian days a couple of times. We had to go to, there was this dedicated place, the old school South Bursted, I think it was, and we had to go there for that, but you actually did it here.
No, we did it here. We all dressed up. Everybody, staff, the kids, everyone dressed up, and we did all sorts of activities. I even took my year 5-6 children swimming at Arundel Lido, dressed in my Victorian costume.
Oh, well, you had Victorian bathing costume.
Oh, I wish.
Now, I asked you about what the children have found most interesting or surprising. What have you found most interesting or surprising about the school's history?
It just how it's developed and how it's changed. Going from single desks and the slates and the chalk and the fact that we had an open fire to the fact that we're now up, with smart boards and all of those sorts of things. But I think it's just the way it's evolved within the community and how our community links are just as strong as ever.
And that's interesting, because that sort of ties in with one of the things you're doing for this anniversary is you're very much linking into the future and looking ahead as well with your Slate to Screen programme. Tell us about that.
So, as you know, our school was penned for closure a few years ago, and we lost a lot of our technology. And currently we only have about 13 very old, in fact I would love to say almost Victorian, age laptops.
So it was actually the local authority took it away when they thought it was going to close?
I think so. I think our technology and all our resources were shared out with other schools because we were saved at the last
it had come that close to they were basically on the verge of sort of boarding up the windows.
Yes, they were, and so we had no tech, and we're still on very limited tech. We currently have 2 iPads for the entire school, and we've got 13 very antiquated laptops. So our plan is to try and raise, and whether it's an unrealistic target, £10,000 to update our technology so that we can provide our children with up-to-date technology equipment, including programming, some microbits and B-bots, as well as laptops and iPads.
So, when I was here, we had, I think, 2 of the old BBC microcomputers with the big 5-inch floppy drives, and later on we had an Acorn, which was sort of like the super souped-up BBC. But that was 2 or 3 computers for a whole school. Is the idea now, with the way that education and the way the world works now, does every pupil need a device of some sort they can use in the school?
Yeah, because technology is progressing so quickly, and the way it changes. In an ideal world, we'd like each of our pupils to have access to an iPad and to a laptop so that they can learn about online safety and YouTube and programming and building websites and all of those sorts of things that the modern curriculum, today's curriculum, wants those children to do.
My name's Savannah and I'm in Year 5.
And what's the most interesting thing that you've been learning about the history of the school?
Probably that it's 150 years old, and that is quite old for the school, and I'm so glad that it's still built, it's still up here, and we get to spend time in it, and it's just so old. It's amazing.
Was it surprising for you to find that it was that old?
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like an old place when you're in it?
No.
And what have you been learning about some of the things that the pupils would have done back in the old days? What are the most interesting things you found out about that?
I would say that I think that they used to have their head teachers used to be the dad or a mum of the student, and I just found that really shocking. I wonder if they maybe did things more easier for that student.
Well, I was talking to a lady earlier who was here in the 1940s, and she was telling me that when she was here, the son of the head teacher was a pupil there, and he got the cane, he got whacked with the cane. Can you believe they used to do that to pupils?
Yeah, it's crazy. Now they probably just talk to you, say, please don't do that, but back in the day they just used to hit people with the cane.
Was that pretty surprising when you found that out?
Yeah.
So what are your favourite subjects? What do you most like doing at school?
Art. I think I'm very good at art. It's one of my passions. I'm inspired by most artists, and I think I'd like to do that when I'm older.
And you get to do quite a bit of art here at the school?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And what about playtime and things, lunchtime? What sort of games do you play these days in the school?
Probably sometimes we play tag, sometimes we play Marco Polo.
Oh, I don't know Marco Polo, tell me that.
So it's where someone closes their eyes and they go Marco, and then the other people go Polo, and then the person who says Marco tries to find them with their voice, and it's very cool.
A lot of people have told me from all kinds of different ages that they like the sort of family feel about the school. Do you find that being here now?
Yeah, it's quite family feel here. I feel like we get a really good connection in the school. So, yeah.
Now, there's all kinds of things that are different from when a lot of the people here today were here. You've got a lot more computers than when I was here, and when a lot of the people here today were here, there were no computers at all, and the different bits of the building have been added, it's made bigger. If you were to come back for a reunion in 30 years' time, what do you think would most have changed, do you think? What's your prediction for what the biggest changes would be?
I think maybe they would make it look more modern. There would be way more electricity and stuff. There would be very upright, strict and stuff.
Oh, you think they might be more strict in the future?
Yeah, I think they might have to be very sitting upright. I think they might have certain things that they have to do at break.
That's interesting. You think that's going to become a bit more strict? They're going to tell you a bit more what to do at break in the future?
Yeah.
That's it. Well, we'll have to come back in 30 years and see if you're right.
Yeah.
I hope Savannah does get the chance to go back and have a look in the future, as I was lucky enough to do. Hers, though, wasn't the only prediction I was given about what might be to come.
My name is Archie and I'm 11. In maybe 20 years time the teachers will be robots. They'll get the lasers out and then point it to your feet. Right at the inch of your feet you'll be oh dang! Oh no, they're pointing lasers at me now. Mummy, I wanna go home. And then you're just talking to a robot on the phone.
I'm not sure if there ever will be laser-firing robot teachers, but it was nice to know that the old school was still firing imaginations in the 2020s, as it did for me and perhaps for you too. And I hope, whenever in the future you may be listening, that it still is today as well.
Happy birthday, Clapham and Patching!
Okay, it's end of play now, you're all dismissed. You can all go now, back to school.